Well, welcome everyone. This is Up Your Rank FPL. We are your hosts. I'm AC. That's Bri bringing you another episode. This time around, game week 9 preview alongside the wildcard video. But before we get into it, if you guys are new around here, or if you have been enjoying the content we've been dropping and you haven't smashed that subscribe button, please make sure that you do so by the end of the video. If you like the content that we're bringing you, hit that like button. Share the video with your FPL group, with your homies, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at UpYourRankFPL. Let's get it. Bri, my guy, we are back at the time of recording. It is September 28th. The game week starts on the weekend. Guan, how are you feeling?
Man, having a little break from FPL was great. Work has been crazy for me. I know you've had a lot going on. Celebrated your birthday last week. Happy belated.
Appreciate it.
We got mine coming up tomorrow or 2 days time. So I'm right around the corner. So it's about to be another crazy weekend again, but glad for the little break. But man, I'm so happy football is back. We got FPL happening. I'm ready to get my heart broken again. Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready for it, man. Excited for the game week. How about you? How you feeling?
I am feeling good. I feel like the break was needed. Us both being September babies. I thought you were on the 29th.
Yeah, I'm on the 29th.
Like I said 2 days, bro. Your birthday's really small.
Hey man, when you get the older you get, man, you just listen. It's around this time.
But I'm like I said, happy that FPL is definitely back. Been trying to pay attention. Needed a bit of the break, as you said. We've both been busy, school, work, other things that are going on. But it's exciting. Not a lot has really been going on during the international break from an FPL perspective. So if I wanted to just jump into some team news in no particular order, I'm not really looking at the teams in that order, but a couple of things that some FPL managers have been bringing to light. And I want to talk about Mitrovic to start. Mitrovic playing for Serbia has been quite interesting. For those who may not be aware, Mitrovic seems to be nursing some type of lower limb injury. It appears to be his right ankle, right lower leg. He was seen yesterday walking off the pitch with a bandage. The bandage was likely holding ice on that leg. Days prior, I do believe it may have been the game where he had scored a hat trick, or I don't recall. I didn't watch any of the games, but he's been scoring. And in one of those other games, he was seen with that, what appeared to be ice on that same lower leg area. So whether or not he's actually injured, it's kind of weird, because if he was injured, he wouldn't be playing. Not only is he playing, he's starting and he's scoring. So I'm not sure if that's a cause for concern, but something that I believe should be brought up. Personally, I'm not worried. Fulham they're fighting for their lives from the beginning of the season all the way into the end of the season. If Mitrovic can run, he's playing. And it's probably worth noting he was seen walking off the pitch on his own accord. Like he wasn't being carried or anything like that. It seemed as though it was just ice. So just something that I want to talk about. I know a lot of managers have him in the team.
Yeah, over 30% owned.
Right?
31% owned. So.
And if you look at the games that he has coming up, I mean, we have Newcastle, West Ham, Bournemouth, Villa, Leeds, Everton. Like, those are some juicy fixtures.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of managers are going to be looking to get this guy out of their team anytime soon. If you have him in your team, you hold him. He's not worth even contemplating moving out of your team. Everybody probably has some type of fire that they need to put out. Speaking of fires, in other news, Isak from Newcastle before I activated my wild card, you know that you can't activate your wild card until you actually make multiple transfers. So before I ever activated my wild card, I actually sold Gabriel Jesus and I brought in Isak, but I didn't do anything else. I was kind of looking to go into the week with him, into game week 9. Now the news is out with respects to him not being available. I am just double checking one thing on my end to see what that estimated return date would be. And it looks, I'm not seeing it here right on my screen, but he's not going to be playing in that Fulham game. He's likely not going to be playing October 8th against Brentford either. So if you have Isak in your team and you have your wild card activated, he's definitely not someone who should still be on your team. That's a complete waste. And if you did bring him into your team before the news came out that he would be out, ouch, 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 because now you got to think about, is he worth taking a hit? I'm not sure what you would do if you had him in your team. What would you do? Do you think you would take if you already used a free transfer to bring him in before the news of his injury, because he got injured on international duty?
Yeah.
Do you then take a hit to bring him out, or at this point, do you just hold?
It's a tough one. It really depends on how your team is set up. Based on, we don't have as much injury, like an update to the injury report. All we see is that he's going to be set to be out for a few weeks. Man, a few weeks could be 3 to 6, 3 to 7. How long, we don't know. And I just think with it being multiple weeks at this point in the season, I might actually consider taking him out for a hit if I can't field a strong enough 11, if he was in my team. All right. That's just how I'd look at it. If I could maybe manage it for one game week, sure, and have that transfer kind of set for game week 10. But with a long-term injury at this stage in the season, I don't like having injured players who should be starting just sitting on the bench.
I got to agree with you. Newcastle is definitely faced with some injury woes at this particular moment. If you're looking at Newcastle's team in its entirety, I don't believe Alex Saint Maxim is going to be back for the upcoming game week. I think he's still dealing with that knock. I think he has potential to be back, but match fitness is going to be there. Bruno is still down on that team. They still have Wood, who's injured, who it doesn't look like he's going to be making it back for this particular upcoming game week. But they do have some good news. It's very likely that Wilson, Mr. Glass, I don't know what you want to call him, is going to be back for this coming game week. And if you're not going to have Isak, you're definitely going to want to have Wilson for that upcoming match against Fulham. So that could be some good news for Newcastle United. If he's fit, if he's willing, and if he's ready to go. I'm staying away from Callum Wilson at 7.2 million. It's just not worth it. There's better value in the forwards, but from just a football perspective and not FPL, Wilson coming back is definitely something to be solid, something to look forward to on that team, right? Imagine if you have the option between a healthy Callum Wilson and a healthy Isak. I mean, Newcastle up front all of a sudden looks a little dangerous. But I guess we're going to have to wait and see, because we're not going to see within the next couple of game weeks. It doesn't look like.
Here's the thing. There are reports coming out as well that Bruno and ASM might potentially be able to make the game. So, that the quote that they love to use is, they're touch and go right now. So we'll see. It really is going to depend on who turns up in training either today, tomorrow, and Friday. But
right,
it's slim, but both of them are toss up right now.
Yeah, I also don't know why I'm calling Alan by my name. I don't play for Newcastle. His name is not Alex. I don't know why my name is coming out of my own mouth about him, but they definitely wanted to correct myself in that regard. But is it worth the rush? These guys have been injured. They've missed multiple games. Doesn't ASM have injury history? Didn't he miss multiple games last year as well? Yep. I mean, if you want to stay up, You spent all this money. You brought in all these players. I don't think that Newcastle is a team that has to worry about going down. If anything, it looks like they're trying to push for a European spot.
Yeah.
Right. So, I see them as a mid-table team this year, just kind of seeing how things have unfolded. They don't necessarily look as strong defensively to me as I originally had thought, now that they're coming up against other teams. So it's going to be interesting how they fare against some of these stronger clubs in their next few game weeks. The couple of game weeks coming up are relatively easy between Fulham and Brentford, but both of those teams have attacking threat. So let's see how the defense holds. But then you have Man U, they seem to have new life. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. And then you have Tottenham come game week 13. And I know we're going super far, but we'll see. They got a couple tough matches in the next 5 or 6 or so.
Yeah, for sure.
In other team news, your team is who I want to bring up. Your team with a beautiful, beautiful fixture against Crystal Palace. So we have Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. This one I have to bring up because you never really know what to expect from a team like Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
They seem to show up against tougher opponents, especially when they play City. I don't know what it is, but whenever they play City, they seem to show out. Now, I haven't checked a couple of the last fixtures, but the only reason why I wanted to bring this game up is because obviously we already knew this, but we have a healthy Zaha who is going to be available for that game. And Zaha is a very, very, he's an interesting pick. Maybe not for this particular game week, but for the game weeks to come. Because after a tough fixture against Chelsea, Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton. Crystal Palace is looking like you need to be targeting those players at this particular time. So I'm only bringing up that particular game because there are some defensive woes that I'm hearing about on your particular team. Now, what's going on with Mendy?
Mendy is injured.
Mendy is injured.
Mendy is injured. Mendy has a knee injury. Kepa, even before the international break, I think it happened in that last game or before that last game, they were talking about it. So Kepa has been getting prepped to be the starter, at least from training and everything is what it seemed like.
And I've been hearing the same thing. So with that being said, I'm bringing it back to Zaha. Now, I'm not saying that Mendy is that much of a better keeper than Kepa. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not discrediting Kepa, but you haven't been getting a lot of starts, haven't been getting a lot of game time. You can be a little rusty. Your team has been leaking goals in the back. Clean sheets are hard to come by, not just for your team, but for every team. Clean sheets seem to be hard to come by. So I have to bring it up with your team. Is Fofana also gonna get the start? What's going on with Potter with respect to what he's gonna be doing in the back? There's so many unknowns. These next couple of games, we're gonna start to see what the new Chelsea is like.
Yeah, listen, with everything pertaining to Chelsea players right now, I would advise most FPL players who don't have multiple Chelsea players in their squad. If you're someone who has like a Reece James or someone like that, who you know for sure is most likely to get game time and play in his normal position, cool. But I wouldn't necessarily be looking at other options on Chelsea right now. Maybe you could look at Sterling a game from now, but how they're going to set up is a total mystery. We have no clue. Potter is going to chop and change things. We saw what the lineup was last game week. There's really no way to know right now. We need more data, need more time. I wouldn't really be looking at, especially defensively, I wouldn't be looking at Chelsea players until would get 2-3 clean sheets in like 4 games. I wouldn't look at them until then.
As an enabler, though, personally, I would look at Wesley Fofana at 4.4 million. He did play the entire game against West Ham. Now, whether or not he's going to be in a starter in the back when you have the likes of what's the man's name? Koulibaly. Is Koulibaly going to be there starting in the back? Is Silva going to be there starting in the back? I'm not so sure. I'm hearing that there is trouble in paradise with Trevor Chalobah. Not too happy currently with the situation.
And he shouldn't be. I completely agree with him. She shouldn't be. So he really shouldn't be.
He's got a lot of talented defenders, to be fair. I guess it's a good problem to have, but who's going to be playing? And Fofana is just an interesting enabler at that price on such a top team.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Now
looking at well, sorry, before you jumped off Chelsea. You go ahead.
I was about to jump off Chelsea.
Well, keeping it on defense, I was going to mention that for, the league leaders are they currently league leaders? Well, City, last year's champions. John Stones was ends up going off injured the most recent game for England.
Right.
And, that could potentially have some things shake up defensively for them. Looking at, I know that new player that they brought in, and
Kanji. Yeah.
Kanji.
I might be saying his name incorrectly.
Yeah, I might be saying his name wrong, but he's looked pretty solid when he stepped in. I don't know where Laporte is at with his injury recovery. We know Diaz is playing, but it's just one of those things that it's another wrench kind of thrown into the City defense. We are yet to see the cohesive defense from City, at least so far this season. It's been nothing but chopped and changed at seems like at every single game. So another one there for Pep to figure out with Stones being injured.
Yeah. If we're going to be sticking on City, it's interesting because they are definitely dealing with some injuries in the back, which makes FPL a little different. So the likes of a Cancelo, you can imagine, is nailed. The likes of a Diaz, you can imagine, is nailed. But to be fair, they do have Ake back. Mm-hmm. So between the 4 positions, you would have to imagine that Diaz is going to start in the middle. Cancelo is going to start on either side, and I would imagine that Walker may get the nod.
Mm-hmm.
And then who's going to play in the middle with Diaz? Maybe Ake. He's back.
Ake.
He started this. He's the one who started the season.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Laporte, he wasn't available, I guess, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
From his hamstring injury, but I haven't heard any news about where he currently is now, and I don't think we're going to find anything out until the press conference. Too early.
Yep.
Right.
I agree.
If we're moving into the forwards, Haaland went his first game in either the Premier League or for his country, and God knows how many without scoring a goal. I'm trying to remember who they faced, but I think it was a 0-0 game, something of that. But he didn't score, which was interesting. People were saying he's human.
Yeah, man.
He is human, or maybe not scoring, but I think a return, one of the two. He's definitely human. Of course, you're not gonna score in every single game. But what I did hear is that City's essentially the physio staff went with him when he went on international duty to make sure that he's getting the correct treatment the same way that he would as if he was with the club.
Gotcha. That's interesting.
So if that is true, from what I read, they're ensuring and focusing on his long-term health. And they're trying to
worrying. That is worrying.
Why is that work? That's amazing.
Why
would you say that's worrying?
Two ways. I guess you could look at it 2 ways. For me, that's worrying because that means, or what it means to me is that the physios and the team they have some type of concern that they want to ensure is being managed properly. What that is, we knew about his injury issues prior to him even stepping into the league. So this is not necessarily new, but I think that's very odd. And I think that's something to keep an eye on, that they found the situation necessary to bring out physios with him to make sure that he's okay. I find that a little bit, that just something to raise an eyebrow to, like, oh, that you guys are that concerned that you actually need to roll with him all the way out there to make sure that he's good. That's a little something to think about.
Well, okay. And you know what? I get that. But from what I read, it was just making sure that he's following the routine that they already have him on. So by bringing the medical staff with him, it's like, yeah, we get it. You're gonna, I don't know. If anything, to me, it's like, maybe we don't trust that you're gonna do the exercises or the stretches. If anything, it might just, and we've invested so much into you and we want to make sure that you do it.
Fair.
Other than that, I only look at it as City protecting their investment just to make sure that he's doing what he needs to do, because we're going to rely on you if we want to win the championship again this year.
Fair.
That's how I see it. So if anything, it's like, you're so important to us that we're going to have this medical staff follow you. And when you come back, you're still going to be playing. Like I have even more confidence in Haaland's minutes being secure. That's how I felt.
Of that. Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
because
That's
of that.
Fair. That's right. Fair. Okay. All
so
right.
I guess you really can look at it both ways. I didn't really try to look at it the way that you did, but yeah, interesting.
Okay. All right. What other injury news do we have that we need to touch on?
Robertson. We can go to Liverpool, because with Robertson's injury, that definitely opens up room for Tsimikas to be starting as left back for the squad. Now, Tsimikas is an interesting pickup if you want to go for a short-term punt. Robertson is, from what I've read, it doesn't seem as though he's going to be ready for the first game right after the international break. And if anything, to be honest with you, at 6.7 million, I don't think Robertson is going to be valuable for the rest of the season. I think Robertson is, I shouldn't say this and people will probably be upset, but I think Robertson is done. I think that's crazy. Eh? That's crazy. I think
he's just out of form right now.
When I say done, I want it to be clear. I'm talking about this season. And when I say done, I'm talking about from an FPL perspective. I'm not talking about his career. I'm not talking about anything. I'm talking about this year. He's a stay clear away for the time being. I think that Tsimikas has demonstrated not only this year, but also last year, what he's capable of doing. And I'm not saying that he's necessarily on par, but he's, listen, if you got to swap out Robertson for Tsimikas multiple games, I'm not mad. As a Liverpool fan, I'm not mad at all. So Tsimikas is sitting at about, I believe he's 4.5 million for your way into the Liverpool back four. Now, Liverpool have the best odds of keeping a clean sheet this game week. It's them, and then I think it's City who have the two best odds of keeping a clean sheet. Both teams are under 50%. So it's just to say that like clean sheets are not coming for a lot of teams, or are not expected to come for a lot of teams, because the attacking threat from all the teams in the Premier League this year is super exciting. I love it. So at 4.5 mil with the game weeks that are coming up, and again, Robertson can very well be ready for this game week. I don't know. I don't think so, though. So against Brighton, I think Tsimikas will start. But against Arsenal and City, I think he's more of a 1 week punt. And I don't think I'd really want to have Robertson either for Arsenal, or definitely not City, because Liverpool is definitely getting scored on. In the back for Liverpool from injury news, we should have who came back? I think
Konate came back.
Konate's back in training, I think.
Yeah. Yes,
he's back. Yeah, Konate's back in training. So that's also good news, but I don't know if he would be starting. Joel Matip did play in the previous game that they played, which was Everton, I think it was. I think the back four is probably going to line up with Van Dijk, Matip, Trent, and Tsimikas.
Yeah.
That's what I think the back four.
Yeah,
but I'm just speculating. There's nothing. I'm just speculating. But I definitely think Tsimikas will start because of the injury news to Robertson. I don't think it's worth rushing him back. You then have two tougher fixtures in the next couple of game weeks. So if you want Robertson to be available, why play him in a game against Brighton? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. If I'm sticking on the Liverpool news, from an injury perspective, Jota, obviously we knew he wasn't still injured because he did play in that Everton game. But what we need to bring up with Jota is that when he was playing for Portugal, he did ask to come off in his last game. So his fitness, Jota's fitness is currently an issue, and that's something to bring up. We do have, Darwin, who seems to look like he's in form. He did score for Uruguay during the international break off a beautiful header. Salah has also been putting some goals in the back of the net for Egypt during international break. So, this is kind of what I was waiting for from an attacking standpoint. You have the likes of a Darwin, a Jota, a Salah, who seem to be getting to where they need to be. So that's kind of nice to see. Plus, Luis Diaz is still Luis Diaz. I haven't heard any injury news relating to him. So now you have four of those guys fighting for three positions, and then you still can't forget about Firmino. Firmino is still Bobby, and he's going to get playing time from Klopp. That's just what Klopp does. He loves Bobby. So 5 healthy attackers. I'm smiling at that because I think it's a good problem to have. Other than that, that's noteworthy to talk between Liverpool. There isn't anyone off for Liverpool from Brighton's end. I don't think there is anybody from Brighton's team from an FPL standpoint that is worth bringing up injury wise.
Okay, cool. The one I think we can mention as well, from an FPL standpoint, Patterson also got injured for Everton, and Patterson is actually set to be out for up to 5 weeks.
Right.
Seems like he got a bad one, so he's going to be out for a little while there.
Yep. A great enabler at only 4.1 million. He's not coming back until the end of the month at earliest. Yeah. I think I read 4 to 6 weeks or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, it kind of hurts, and it looks like Everton may not be the a battery thing. They may not be.
It up.
They seem to be. I mean, you get Begovic, who comes in the one game and almost has as many. How many clean sheets does Pickford have in his games? I think he has 2. I think he has 1 clean sheet. I could be wrong. He might have 2 clean sheets. One was against Liverpool. The other one was against Forest, or he may have had a penalty save. I can't remember how he got those points. But Begovic comes in, and all of a sudden, his one game, clean sheet. Now, don't get me wrong. It's against West Ham. West Ham is poor offensively. It's really rough. 9 games in and so few goals. It's going to be a rough. It seems like it might be a rough campaign for them. But Cody seems to be getting it together. What's that guy's name? Mikolenko seems to be getting it together.
He looks good. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's looking good on the pitch at only 4.5 million. Now, I'm not saying invest in Everton, but this particular game week, it's Southampton. This could be an opportunity and this is why people who had Patterson were looking to play Patterson.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
But at 4.1 million, I don't know if I can justify 4.8 for a Cody, who then I have to worry about what am I going to do with you in the weeks to come when you got United and Tottenham and Newcastle all afterwards. Yeah. And then Crystal and then Fulham. And somebody may have attackers on all of those teams because there are FPL attacking assets on each of the 4 teams that I just named. Yeah. So do you really want to have an Everton defender? Probably not.
Fair,
not long term. So when you had Patterson at 4.1 playing for the one Southampton game and then putting him on the bench for the rest, now Patterson's just, hopefully you had him at 4. You didn't buy him at 4.1, but he shouldn't drop below 4. I think he'll just drop back to 4 over the coming weeks. It'll be a great time for me to go pick him up.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Anyone else to mention for injury news?
From an injury perspective, let me just look at the other games. Arsenal, Spurs, Bournemouth, Brentford. Off the top of my head, I can't think of an injury off the top of my head for any of these other teams. So perhaps we can just leave it there for now. We're definitely missing some players, but those are the players who came to the top of my mind because they're players who I either wanted to bring into my team or they were enablers or they impact some of the moves that I was going to make, specifically Mendy.
Gotcha. Fair. Mm-hmm. Fair. Okay. All right. Well, that sounds good. Went over the news there. Let's look at how we're setting up then for this coming game week. Before we jump into your wildcard team, why don't I just show how my squad set up for the game, who I'm looking to captain, and how I'm looking to go into game week 9.
Yeah, perfect. Let's do it.
All right. So this is how my team is set up to go into game week 9. Starting at the back, we have Pope, who is going to be playing against Fulham away. Hopefully we can get some points back there. But Pope I thought he looked fairly good. I watched the England versus Germany game. Oh my God, he let in the worst goal for Havertz for the third goal that Germany scored. Havertz got his brace. Terrible deflection. He put right back into trouble. But outside of that, I thought he had a pretty decent game. Cancelo going to be playing Manchester United at home. It's going to be a big game, Manchester Derby. Tough to call, but I just feel like there's going to be a lot of attacking going on in that game, so I'm looking forward to it. Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. I got James in the back away. I don't necessarily see a clean sheet here. How Chelsea have looked has been really atrocious. I mean, James didn't keep a clean sheet in another big game against Germany, so just is what it is. I'm not expecting a clean sheet here. Hopefully we can get an attack and return if he's able to play right wing back. Trippier is playing Fulham, hoping for attack and return there as well. I am going to move forward with playing Soufal versus Wolves at home. Yes, West Ham don't look great right now, but Wolves look worse offensively than West Ham do defensively. So that's the bet I'm going against there. Wolves can't seem to score to save their life. I mean, they've gone back and tried to resurrect Diego Costa from the dead just to get a striker in. Crazy. It's been terrible luck for them. So I'm going to start Soufal at the back and hope that we can get a clean sheet. Bowen, he's in there as a stopgap, as I've talked about a couple of times already since my wild card. This is going to be one of his last few games in the team anyway. So it's against Wolves. He's at home. If he can turn it around, great. But honestly, I'm not expecting much from him. Maddison, the game on Monday, Leicester versus Forest. I know this is probably one of the hotter picks going into the game week. Maddison, his ownership is still only at 6.7%, which I think is super low. Just based, you know what I mean? I think that's such a big differential based on how he's been returning. He's had some tough fixtures, and even in this terrible Leicester side, he's still managing to tick over. So hopefully that continues. Zaha, I think he has a crazy run coming up. I'm expecting big things from him. Maybe not this game. If he wants to stay quiet and, have Chelsea keep a clean sheet, cool. Not a huge fan of playing offense versus defense in the same squad, as you know, but this is just one of those picks where I think his upside is I think he has a ton of upside, especially for the game weeks that are coming up. And then Mitro, know the injury news. He had his leg wrapped up and all of that, but I'm going to play him. I think if he's fit, he's going to play. Brought him in for this run, this fixture run here at home to Newcastle. I'm going to let him do his thing. Kane and Haaland both start in the team as well, even though they have more difficult fixtures. Right now, the armband is on Haaland versus Manchester United. I really could switch this to Kane. I've also been low-key tempted to switch this over to Madison. I'm not going to lie. Those are kind of the three players that I'm considering. Kane has done excellent in derbies against Arsenal. He tends to always score in that. Haaland, this is actually one of those weeks where, even though the captaincy is on Haaland right now, this is one of those weeks where I actually might end up swapping it off of him potentially. I think there's an opportunity here to do a little bit of a gamble, because I think even if he scores, I just can't see, based on how United have been playing recently, I don't necessarily see multiple goals. But who knows? City loves big games. You know what I mean? They like to, if City lets one off in the first 20 minutes or so, they have tendency to just kind of pop off. So who knows? So we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. But right now, the armband is on Haaland. And then on the bench, I've thrown Iverson there. Rumors that there are discussions going on. I think you mentioned to me earlier that Rodgers had come out a couple of weeks ago talking about how there could be a potential shakeup there for who's going to be in the sticks for Leicester. So glad I kept Iverson. Hopefully he can get a start, even if he's on the bench, just to, keep things safe, just in case anything happens to my goalie. Martinelli, first off the bench against Tottenham. I think it's just one of those games I could sit him on the bench comfortably. Nico Williams and Andreas round out the last two spots. I might even look to switch Andreas with Nico and leave Nico third this week. Just one of those things that could potentially happen.
I thought you were about to say switch Andreas and put Sufal on the bench, because that was the first thing that I saw when I looked at it.
I'm gonna give Sufal. He's the one who could really get out of the starting lineup, but I don't love the players on the bench enough to swap him out. I think if I'm looking at the four of them, Andreas, with how Willian's been playing, Willian's now on some of the corners. I just see Andreas's upside kind of trending downward. And Nico, I want Madison to go off. I want Leicester to score some goals this game. So I'm going to keep Nico on the bench. And Martinelli versus Tottenham, I mean, if I have the option, I'm never going to start him in that game. So Sufal kind of gets it by default for my team. But that's basically how I'm set up going into game week 9.
That's solid. If I can comment on the team, you've made the transfer already, correct?
Yes. So the transfer that I made was I removed Kulusevski, who was the punt for last week, and brought in Madison for this week.
Right. So there's not, you're pretty much set on your team. You're not really looking to make any changes. This is how some small tweaks here, but you're not even considering a hit. Your team looks good to enter the game week. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not considering a hit this week, to even looking at next week, unless something crazy happens, someone gets injured. Next week, I'm already kind of thinking about rolling the transfer just based on how my team is set up, barring no major injuries or nothing going on. So I'm good. My team is okay for now. Hopefully they can continue to just stay steady and do their thing. So that's how I'm set up. Right. Team's looking solid. All right. Let's kind of switch gears. Let's jump into your squad, sir. Show us what you got going on for game week 9. It's wildcard time. The chip has been hit. Wildcard activated, as you can see up here in the top left-hand corner. Transfers unlimited. Here is what I've done. I've remained on the transfer screen because I'm still tinkering, right? That's what you do with the wildcard. I have up until the game week to decide what I'm going to do. All the news that flows in, I'm going to be able to listen to the manager press conferences and make a decision of how I really want to approach the game week. Oddly enough, I wasn't 100% going to sell or to activate my wild card when I had made the transfer for Gabriel Jesus out, Isak in, until the Isak news hit. Then I'm like, well, I definitely need to activate the button now. I'm not about to take a hit. That'd be silly. Plus, I was always planning to kind of use my wild card around this time anyway, knowing that we have another one coming up. What game week 15, game week 16? Yeah, 16. Yeah. Somewhere around there. So I have sold Ward and I have brought in Jose Sa. Now, the reason why I brought in Sa, if you look at, he already has 37 points on the year. He's underrated, 5.7% owned. He's had 3 clean sheets. He's had Southampton, Bournemouth, and Fulham. Now, those were easier games. I understand. Plus, he had a penalty save, which brought up some of his points. I get that. But if you look at the run of fixtures, I don't really want to be making game week goalkeeper transfers. I'm not expecting him to necessarily keep a clean sheet against Chelsea, but I'll take my chances. Chelsea's not necessarily firing on all cylinders. West Ham is not firing on all cylinders either. So, I'll take my chances. And then the game weeks become maybe a little easier. Forest, Crystal, Leicester, Brentford, Brighton. I'll take my chances and see what happens. Wolves don't necessarily score a lot of goals, but outside of the City game, it's not like they've conceded a lot of goals.
Yeah.
They conceded 7 goals, 2 against Leeds, 3 against City. So, and that was one game. There's 2 games. I'll take my chances. I don't want to bring in Pope because I'm kind of priced out of Pope if I kind of want to leave money in the bank. I know right now I don't have any money in the bank if you look in the top right corner here, but I don't want to spend 5.2 mil on my goalkeepers. And I also want double defense on any team, specifically in this game week where I've got Fulham against Newcastle. Why? So then I have Pope and then I have Trippier, but then I have Mitrovic and I have Andreas. Like it doesn't really make sense to me. I don't like that. So I'd rather spread that around. I kept Iverson because I'm hoping that he gets to play at some point. And if he does, look at these fixtures. Forest, Bournemouth, Crystal, Lee. I know it's all green in terms of the fixture difficulty rating, but I might take a gamble. You got that, you're the new goalkeeper bounce. Does that even exist? Is that a thing? I don't know. But, I would never expect Leicester to keep a clean sheet anyway. But speaking of Leicester, I got their old man in my squad, Fofana. Now he's an enabler. The reason why he's here is because I have premiums in my team between KDB, Kane, and Haaland. So it's not like I have that much money to play around. I wouldn't even be able to find my way to Salah at this particular moment. That's why he's also in the team with Crystal at 4.3. I'm kind of expecting to rotate between these 3 defenders, between Nico Williams, Fofana, and Guehi over the next, I would say from 1 to the next 5 game weeks. Guehi's fixture run, just like Zaha's. All I see is green, 4.3. Don't mind if I do. That's all I need to do. I just need an enabler, and that's why he's there. Fofana on a good team, well, a historically good club, possibly getting starts. I'm sure Chelsea's going to turn it around at some point. 4.4. I mean, I can't ignore that if he's going to get some starts. And then Nico Williams, it's not really that great in terms of the fixture run, especially here in the middle, but he might get rotated in some of these games. Who knows? My defenders who I know I'm not changing, Cancelo and Trippier. I think a lot of people already have them in. I think they're both over 50% owned in the game. Those are kind of, I kept Bailey, still haven't sold him. I'm hoping he goes back up, maybe 0.1, maybe 0.2, if I can get my money back. So he's staying in the team. And he has some decent fixtures that are coming up. Leeds, Forest, Chelsea, Fulham, Brentford. I mean, if he takes over on 2 of these games, people are going to buy at 4.7. Maybe the likes of an Andreas starts dropping in performance because of Willian, like you said, and he leaves their team and people go back and buy Bailey. Who knows?
Yeah, that's fair.
Just like you, I'm not going to talk about Zaha and Madison because you've already covered it. Same reason why they're in my team. KDB is the one who I don't know if I already want to plan a transfer. This is the problem. They blank in game week 12. If you haven't noticed, I sold Martinelli. Most people have kept Martinelli. I took Martinelli out on my wild card. Why? Because he's going to drop in price. He has a blank in the game week 12, and he has 2 tough fixtures, one against Tottenham, and I think the other one is against, who is their other game against? Is it?
Who? Martinelli you're talking about?
Yes. Arsenal's game. They have Tottenham in one, then they have
Tottenham, then Liverpool.
And Liverpool.
Yeah.
and then an easy game week, forget which team, and then a blank.
Tottenham and Liverpool both at home, Leeds away, and then they blank.
For me, you know what? If Martinelli somehow bangs in these next couple of games, it's on me for selling him when everyone's bringing him in. But you know what? I'd rather capitalize on the 0.3 for Martinelli. I don't want to have so many players sitting on my bench come game week 12. And that's the conundrum that I'm running in right now with having 3 City players. And because of that, KDB may actually turn to Son.
Gotcha.
The thing is that historically, Kane has been the better option against Arsenal. And that's why I brought Kane into my team for the wild card. Son was my punt. But after that hat trick, I don't know if I necessarily want him to leave my team.
Yeah.
Right? I might be looking to keep him, especially with the fixture runs that are coming up I'm not worried about Brighton, Everton, Man U, Newcastle, Bournemouth. I'm really not. Liverpool, I'm not. Arsenal, I'm not. Every team can get it from an attacking standpoint. No team is safe. There is no strong defensive team this year. I'm not seeing it. So KDB's a little, I don't know, but then it's the Southampton game that I can't sell him for. Look at this. I can't sell him. Gotcha. I can't sell him before Southampton. So maybe I hold on to KDB and then come the Liverpool game, sell KDB for Son. And then at some point for game week 13, bring in Salah.
Gotcha.
I have to make it work because I'm going to have to hold on to a transfer to make that work, or I might have to take a hit. But that's kind of the initial plan. I want to keep KDB for the Southampton game. But if he sits the Southampton game, I'm going to be upset. I'm going because your whole planning goes out the window.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go into game week 12. Cancelo will be on the bench. Haaland's on the bench. That's why I got rid of No. Who blanks that game week? It's not Brighton. It's Arsenal.
Arsenal blanks,
That's why I didn't bring in, not Estupinan, sorry. That's why I didn't bring in the likes of a Ben White. Saliba, I don't want to overpay. Arsenal's fixtures are, again, difficult. I would like to have an Arsenal defender at some point, but it's probably going to be White or Tomiyasu or something like that. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe Zinchenko because he's going to find fitness again when he's back from this injury. But for the time being, I'm staying clear from Arsenal for the next 4 game weeks. I'll look to Arsenal come game week 13.
Fair.
So
you know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
You are right though with your concerns around KDB and him starting that Southampton game just because it's right in between the 2 Champions League games, right? They basically play Man United on the Sunday. Then they got the Champions League game on the Wednesday, Southampton the Saturday, and then the Champions League game the following Tuesday. So it's sandwiched right in between that. So I get your concern there.
So I don't know if it's worth the gamble holding on to him. I'd rather obviously have KDB, but maybe Son is the safer bet to just kind of hold on to him because just like I wanted him to find his form against Leicester, that may have just been the game that he needed to get back on track. And look what he's doing for South Korea. I mean, he's going to always do but just that little bit of confidence is back, right? Don't get me wrong. I think Richarlison scored in his game for Brazil. For Brazil too. Yeah. I think he did, even though they threw a banana on the pitch. Like these things are getting outrageous with the racism in football. Like it's nuts, but crazy. That's another conversation for another time. So when I'm looking at these 3 players, already knowing that they're on the bench, that already bothers me. Why am I planning to? I don't know if it's a smart move to have 3 City players. And just like I don't think it's a smart move if you count your City players and your Arsenal players, and you already have 4. You need to start considering what you're doing now. Don't wait until game week 11, game week 12. Too late if it's game week 12, actually. You might want to be looking at what you're doing now. I have Mitro. The concern is obviously with the ankle. We'll see. He played. He scores. Mitro does what Mitro does. Can't believe I'm saying that. But that's my wild card. However, I'm still tinkering. Let me show you.
Okay.
You know that I like Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney didn't get the nod for England. Southgate didn't give him the nod, did he?
Nope.
Okay. Toney may be trying to prove something. Toney may be upset. Who is Tony facing this game week? Bournemouth. So look at this. Get rid of Kane. Have Tony. Tony's actually already on my team. Kane's not on my team as we speak.
Gotcha.
Fofana is not on my team as we speak. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't have Reece James. With respects to who has the best odds of keeping a clean sheet this game week, it's Liverpool.
Yeah. They have higher odds.
Also, I don't have to really worry about Fofana playing because I don't know what Potter's going to do yet. I feel safer playing Trent. Trent and Tony will play. I can't say that Kane and Fofana will play. Kane will play. Yeah. I don't know if Fofana will play. I also don't know if I want to play Fofana against Zaha because I want your team to leak goals. So why bring in Fofana right now? I can wait. Against Bournemouth, but you know how I feel against Bournemouth. The thing is with Ivan Toney, in 4 of his last 5 games, he has 0 shots on target. I'm not going to ignore that stat. 4 out of his last 5 games, he has 0. You are the striker. How do you not have a shot on target? That's always going to bother me. And just because you got that hat trick, that's the only reason why people are flocking to you, because he got a hat trick. And look who he got it against. The hat trick was against Leeds. That's not saying much.
Do you think that's maybe clouding your judgment? Like because if he blanks that game, you know what I mean? It would be 4 games running.
5 games running.
Yeah, 5 games running,
with no shots on target.
Exactly. So do you think that's maybe clouding, the hat trick is maybe clouding your judgment a little bit too much?
I think the hat trick against a weak team says, maybe against another weak team, he says, I know I can do this. I may have been struggling against some other clubs, but it's Bournemouth and I think I can do this. And I think it might be worth the gamble. He's going to play. He can get assists. That's how he was getting some of these. He got 2 assists against United. Other people on Brentford can score. It's not just him. So I think it's just because I don't know what's happening with Fofana I'd rather have Trent and Tony but I like Kane, and I think Kane's gonna bag. So I don't know yet. I really don't know. This option right here as well. Why I like it better than the Kane and the Fofana is because it leaves me with 1.2 in the bank.
Yeah.
It adds to the flexibility of what I can do.
Yeah.
The Kane Fofana with a 3-man team doesn't allow me to be flexible. Maybe I take out Tony, and at 8.4, I think I'm still priced out. I'd have to sell it. I'd have to sell somebody. I was trying to see if I can get a Liverpool attacker like a Darwin.
Oh,
but I'd still have to tinker. I'd have to downgrade somebody. But remember, KDB might not be the person who I hold because of what you just said with the easy fixture sandwiched in between Champions League. Maybe KDB becomes becomes Son. Now all of a sudden I can have a Darwin, a Son, and a Trent. Right? It allows me, because I think the difference in price is 0.5 if I go Son. So if I take KDB out, I bring in Son. Do I have 8.9? I have 8.9.
Yeah.
So this can become Darwin. Right.
And then you're maxed out. You're basically using all your budget there and maxing it out. I guess I think the team looks good. I got 2 questions for you.
Yep.
1, come game week 12.
Yep.
Where Liverpool's fixtures turn for the better.
Yep.
How do you plan on getting to Mo? Or do you plan on bringing him into your team at all? Or are you not necessarily planning for him?
I'll be honest, I'm not 100% planning for Mo. I think I can navigate the campaign without Mo. I'm seeing a lot more value in other places, and I don't think I don't think it needs to be Mo. As a matter of fact, I'd rather have Kane in my team than Mo Salah.
Then Mo? Fair. Okay.
Kane is somebody, but I still thought about how I can get back to Kane. How I can get back to Salah.
Okay.
To get back to Salah, and that's another reason why I'm taking a chance on Tony. If I take a chance on Tony and Trent and I play them and I don't make any transfers up until game week 11, I would be able to downgrade Tony to a Archer, to any type of 4.3. I don't need 3 up front. So it leaves me with money to then upgrade Son.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? That's kind of the idea behind it, but I'd have to be able to, I need to be in a position to roll a transfer. I don't want to take a hit to buy Salah. I don't know if Salah's worth a hit. I don't know. I might want to find my way back to Diaz before I find my way back to Salah in the midfield. Gotcha. I might want to find my way to Darwin up front before I find my way to Salah. So I'm not going to lie. I'm not that concerned about finding my way back to Salah. I'm more concerned about not having the likes of a Reece James. So again, having money, being flexible to possibly, for a team who can get clean sheets and for a guy who can get clean sheets and attacking returns, big at the back, it might come back again. Who knows? You might want to have Reece James, Cancelo, and Trent all in your team.
Okay.
Right? So I'm more concerned right now with the flexibility. And because I didn't say this, I know I'm going a little off track. I didn't tell you who I was benching for the upcoming game week. So if I do decide to keep KDB, because I do want to kind of have KDB for the Manchester derby, because I think he's going to play, and he, between him and Haaland, I feel like the ball is going to find KDB's foot to Haaland's head top. That's what's going to happen, right? So in terms of who I'm starting, actually it's just easier to say who I'm going to bench. I'm likely going to bench Gueye again because he's facing Crystal.
Chelsea, yeah.
Did I say Crystal? I meant to say Chelsea. My apologies. I'm also likely going to bench Nico Williams because they're playing Leicester and I want Maddison to bang. And now it's a toss-up between do I play Bailey or do I play Andreas?
Makes sense.
I'm probably more inclined to play Bailey.
Gotcha.
Before I play Andreas. I think I'm going to leave Andreas on the bench. Because last time I said that and then I put Andreas in, it cost me 2 points. 2 points is nothing, I know, but it's something. It bothers me.
2 points is 2 points, man.
Points is 2 points.
2 points. Who do you plan on captaining?
Right now,
the captaincy?
Right now, the armband is on Haaland.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, the armband is going to stay on Haaland, and then the vice captaincy is going to go on Maddison. At this particular juncture, I don't think I'm going to change my mind about that. I think Haaland is going to score. Are they playing at home?
Yep.
And they're playing at home.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm keeping the armband on him. Madison, are they playing on the road? Oh, he's playing at home. Yeah,
he's playing at home too. He's playing at home too. He's at the King Power too.
Ooh, but I could just see him blanking against Leicester personally. Why am I saying the team against Forest? Yes, yeah. I could see him possibly blanking. So yeah, I'll put it on him. If anything, the vice captaincy may also go on Tony. But again, I think that's just me being afraid that so many people have brought him in and I don't have him. Like when I say so many people, I'm looking at the ownership. He's fifth of the game owns him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. That's a high amount of players. He went up in price.
Yep.
I didn't think he was going to go up in price, but there's another reason why I put him on the team just in case he did. Because there was like 6 straight days where nobody went up in price.
No, yeah.
I don't know if you were paying attention to that, but it was insane. So that's kind of how my team looks. I'm also not so sure I want Zaha for this game week.
Mm-hmm.
Zaha is somebody who I'm thinking about. If I go in and I have Son, right? Instead of KDB, I have 8.9 mil to play in the midfield. Maybe I go somewhere else. The problem is who do you go to? At 8.9, maybe I go to a Diaz.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
Right? Maybe I go to a Diaz and I have a Diaz, a Son, Maddison, Haaland, Mitro, Tony, Cancelo, Trent, like Trippier. Like I'm liking that.
Yeah, I get you.
Right. So having all of this flexibility right now I'm waiting for the team news, brother. I'm waiting for the team news, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of amped but it's so important to nail this. Obviously, we're gambling, we're guessing. But nailing this, look how different my team is from yours.
Yeah,
and look when we started the season.
Yeah, that's a thing. Right now the the standard is out the window, the template is out the window. You know what I mean? Now there's a lot more player options. There are way more than 15 to 20 players that people are looking at in their teams. It's finally gotten shaken up, which is good. That's what we wanted. Overall, I think the team looks good. I know you're still tinkering and working through it, but overall, I think it looks good. I think it looks good.
Yes, sir. Is there anybody on this on my team or that's not on my team that you think other managers should possibly be contemplating if they're on a wild card?
Yeah, definitely. You went over a number of players that I thought are really good options. Do you think, and maybe I'll answer that with another question for you. Do you think teams that have been kind of going along and being very consistent, but their fixtures are starting to turn or maybe being overlooked? And one of the players that maybe comes to mind in this regard is someone like a team like Arsenal, someone like a Bukayo Saka. He's been someone who's ticked over. Saka has returned in 6 out of the 8 games that have been played, and people are dumping him out of the team. Are we maybe looking a little bit too much at the fixtures as opposed to the actual form that the player is in? So, to answer your question, I think Saka is somebody I think is maybe getting overlooked a little bit. And the other one who I'll also mention is Raheem Sterling. If Chelsea's going to score, he's going to need to be involved. I just think that's the way it is. He's that integral to things. And with their fixture, just kind of turning a little bit and going a little bit, they seem to have some more easier games coming up, or at least on paper. He could be someone else who I think, maybe will fly a little bit under the radar. But those are really the 2 players that I've mentioned that, I just find it odd how everyone's dumping Arsenal players. I know I did it too, but Saka's been ticking. If you look at his stats, if you look at the points he's been returning, he's just been kind of ticking over.
So I like Saka. I started the year with Saka. I don't remember if you did, but I had Saka in my team. And I really believed in Saka, but 2 blanks, everyone panic sold. And then all of a sudden he's returned in 5 out of the 7 games that is it 5 out of 7? Because they missed a game week. Right? No, everyone missed a game week.
Everyone missed a week.
Yeah, everyone missed a game week. But I'm just pulling up his stats right now. With respects to the midfield, he returned against. He returned in his first game. So
yeah, he returned against Palace, blanked against Leicester, and Bournemouth.
5. So there's 5. He returned against 5 out of 7 games. It was the Leicester and the Bournemouth game that he didn't return.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So are people overlooking him? Sure. But look at the games that are coming up. They're tough games and he blanks. That's the problem. I would rather go back and hope that he's still at 7.8 and target him for Southampton. He's somebody who I would be looking to bring in Southampton. If, let's say, for example, Maddison really wasn't doing what I expected Maddison to do against Forest, Bournemouth, Crystal, and Leeds. You know what? Come game week 12, Maddison against Wolves, you're out of my team. I'm buying Saka. He's coming into my squad.
Fair. That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
A Raheem Sterling, to be honest, I don't know, man. I don't really know what's going on with that attacking team of yours. They have Aubameyang on the squad. When is he going to be getting into the Prem? When's he going to be getting some minutes? I don't know. Does Potter like Aubameyang? I don't know. I'm kind of asking you. So I don't know per se if 10 million is worth spending on Sterling. He had the one game where he banged. And that one game where he banged, where he got the 15 points, that was against Leicester. Everyone is banging against Leicester. I think I'd asked you this question already last week. How many teams play Leicester and one of their players have scored 2 or more goals this year?
Yeah, we need to look at the stats, man.
I definitely I definitely need to
stats.
I definitely need to look at that stat for sure. So I'm not so sure if I'm looking at Sterling per se. Yeah. I don't know if I'm looking at Sterling, but I definitely agree with you with Saka. Other players who I'm kind of keeping my eye on, but I'm not really so, I got to run out and go get them. Because people were talking about him earlier, Rashford. Now, with his injury, after that, there are some good fixtures that are going to come up between now and the international break. I don't typically like having Manchester United players on my team over the last couple of campaigns. I don't think that they've been providing much value. But I don't know. I think that I might keep my eye on Rashford. I'm not looking to buy him anytime soon, especially against City. But then they've got Everton, Newcastle, Tottenham, Chelsea could all be tough. But then they have West Ham, Villa, Fulham, Forest, Wolves, Bournemouth. And maybe at around game week 14. But I'm not going to bring you in on my wild card now in anticipation for game week 14. That doesn't really make too much sense to me. So, yeah, Ben, I think I've already said it, but Jota, if he kind of gets back into form, he might be somebody who it's going to kind of be hard to ignore. So we'll see what kind of Klopp does and how Jota's fitness is. But I don't know. I'm not that keen on that many more players. I think between your team and my team, a lot of the guys who I'm looking at, they're either on my team or your team. There's a few with the exception, obviously, but yeah.
All right. That's fair. Well, overall, I think we're both set up pretty good going into game week 9 here. I know as you're still tinkering, once you have the final team set and ready to go, I know you'll post that on the Twitter page so that, you can get those live updates going. I will do the same. You can follow us on Twitter to get those updates in real time at UpYourRankFPL. If you're new here, you like the content that we're putting out, you're enjoying the FPL journey that we're on, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like the video, share it with your FPL group, and we'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace and good luck during the game week. Be sure to like and subscribe.